Hi everyone, welcome to Camila Cava Food Photography Podcast, a place where I interview talents in food photography industry to learn ins and outs to help you and myself grow a food photography career. On today's podcast, I talk with Kimberly Espinel, known as the Little Plantation, an award-winning editorial and commercial food photographer, educator, and podcaster. Kimberly has a following of 106,000 followers on Instagram and has recently released her Amazon best-selling book, Creative Food Photography: How to Capture Exceptional Images of Food. You may know her from her food photography podcast and Instagram challenge Eat, Capture, Share. Kimberly has worked with many big clients such as Waitrose, KitchenAid UK, Sony, Tefal, Tate and Lyle Sugars, and more. Kimberly shares with us tips on how to grow your Instagram with a highly engaged audience. So let's deep dive into it. Hi, Kimberly. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Camille. It is so lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining. So, for the listeners that may not know you, could you please introduce yourself and tell a little bit, what you do?
Yes. So, my name is Kimberly Espinel. I'm a food photographer, food photography teacher. I'm
Mhm.
also the author of Creative Food Photography: How to Capture Exceptional Images of Food. And like you, I have a podcast called Eat, Capture, Share. And Eat, Capture, Share is also the name of my Instagram food photography challenge, which is, I think, the thing most people know me for.
Yeah, for sure. The challenge is really, really great, and I will love to talk about it later on as well. Awesome. But so, how long have you been a food photographer?
So I've been doing it full time for 4 years now. So it's
4
already full
years.
time for 4 years. And before that, I did it I did more food blogging. And so obviously
Mm-hmm.
photography is part of that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
for a year and a half, I did food blogging. And then another
Okay.
year and a half, I did the food blogging and food photography as kind of a side hustle. And then, and yeah, 4 years ago, I went full time.
Right. So you basically started as a food blogger, and then correct me if I'm wrong, you fell in love with food photography, so you started following that path,
That's
or
right. Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's
this?
exactly how it went.
That's how I found food photography also. I thought I'm going to be a food blogger. And then after a couple of months, I was like, nah, but food photography? Wow. It's
I
so
mean, I
exciting.
still blog and
Yeah.
I love to write. I love to write
Uh-huh.
actually. I do like that. It's not so much food blogging anymore, so it's more stuff
Mm-hmm.
around Instagram or photography or just kind of bigger issues that I feel like I want to write about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I do love that still, but in terms of recipe development, it's not like the main thing I do anymore.
Anymore, right. Right. But you still do recipe developments or not
I
at all?
still do, yes,
Okay.
mainly for brands and things, or as an
Uh-huh.
influencer or content creator, whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah.
on the blog, I barely post any recipes at all, unless they're sponsored. So I don't do it.
Yeah. That makes sense because it could be time consuming and you are doing so many things at the same time right now because yeah, you gotta have your priorities, I guess. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I love to talk to you about is actually indeed being an influencer and about having an Instagram big following because I've seen you have 106,000 followers on Instagram. Is that right?
Mhm.
Could you tell us a little bit more how that helps you and your business?
So it's really interesting because I mean, my main income comes from food photography, and so kind of ironically, whether I have 10,000 followers, 1,000 followers, 100,000 followers, for that element of my business, it makes no difference at all.
No?
And the second part of my business is I teach. So
Right.
I teach food photography, food styling, and I also mentor creatives and other food photographers. And
Uh-huh.
for that, it is definitely helpful. It is definitely helpful to get the word out. But what I notice is what is actually more important for that element of my business is
Mhm.
the mailing list. And then the
Mhm.
third part of my business, which is
Uh-huh.
the smallest part, just minute, is
Yeah.
sponsored content. And
Right.
that side, which I would guess makes up maximum 10% of my income because I barely do sponsored content. Like I
Uh-huh.
very
Uh-huh.
much. Um, for that, having a large audience is super, super helpful because you can command a higher fee, right? Because
Yeah, 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 for
to
sure.
speak to. But ironically, it is, the least lucrative for me or least important or the thing that I least enjoy. But I think if you love doing content creation for brands,
Yeah.
influencer work, then having a big
Yeah,
audience definitely helps.
that helps for sure. Okay, but then I'm wondering, you mentioned that you collect email subscribers from your Instagram. How does that work then?
Yes, so I mean, I have lots of different ways that I build my mailing list.
Uh-huh.
So one of them, like you, I'm a podcaster, so that's one of the ways I do it. And then the other one is just through my blog. I have pop-ups or
Mm-hmm.
options and things like that, which means that every single day I get new subscribers, super important. And then because I have more than 10,000 followers on Instagram, it means I have the swipe up option. So, in
Uh-huh.
stories. So it does mean that if I have a really nice opt-in that I think people will love, or right
Uh-huh.
now I'm doing a giveaway that's going to be exclusive to mailing list subscribers, then I can feature that on stories and have people swipe up and sign up. So it does help for sure. But I don't only have Instagram as my way of building the mailing list, but it does help
Mhm.
for sure.
It does help. Yeah, it does help attracting all the audience. So tell us, how do you grow your Instagram?
So, it's really interesting because I have been on Instagram for 7 years. And I would say
Wow.
over the course of that period, how you grow your Instagram has totally changed.
Changed.
Right. So in the early days, it really was about posting loads and posting as good as you could, the visual content to be as good as possible. So that was how it
Yeah.
was in the early days. And
Uh-huh.
then as more and more people were on the platform, kind of, if you posted something that was good, that kind of wasn't enough anymore. It had to be really good, and
Yeah.
you had to know, your hashtags and those sorts of things. And now I think we're moving again away from that. And now I think captions are super important.
Uh-huh.
And, especially, I guess, because you don't just want to build a following, you want to build a community, you want to build a connection with people. And captions are a great way of doing that. And
Uh-huh.
then another way that I built my audience, which was actually, I think, like a turning point for me, was hosting the Eat Capture Share Challenge. And
Uh-huh.
actually, one of the reasons, and I've always debated this in my mind, the Eat Capture Share Challenge could be quote unquote bigger. But
Uh-huh.
and by only hosting it on Instagram, so by hosting that, having the challenges be on Instagram, so it can spread wider. But I
Uh-huh.
decided not to do that. And um, the reason I started the challenge initially was to build my mailing list. So in order to participate in the challenge, you have to join a mailing list. And so it's a
Yeah,
huge mailing list builder for me. Um,
that's amazing.
but actually, over time, gosh, I think just I have now a mailing list section that is only for challenge participants. And I think there's more than 3,000 people that are just on that
Wow.
part of the mailing list.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that was initially. So I was like, I'd love to build my mailing list. Let me do a challenge and let the mailing list sign up be how you get the challenge information.
Yeah.
But over time, actually, yes, it builds my mailing list, but it's also allowed me to build a really strong connection with the people that I have on Instagram. So, like, I feel I know them because I read their captions, I see their
Uh-huh.
work. Um, like, I feel that, and of course, then people reshare and tell their friends and tell their neighbor, and so that has been a mailing list builder and also an amazing way to grow my Instagram.
Oh, that's beautiful because I think also you build not only the like if you just host it on Instagram, you build a quantitative amount of people that join, but less how do you say, less quality kind of followers because we're not that invested anymore.
Not just
As
that,
if you
but
really have that
yeah,
community in your email
the
list.
other thing, what's really important to me, like for me, I want to provide the best value that I can.
Uh-huh.
And I know that by sending out emails with inspirational content and captions and, guidance, it's so much more than I could ever post quickly on stories.
Yeah.
And it's things I know that a lot of people save these emails and revisit them because it's learning, it's free learning. And so I can make the content just that much better because
Uh-huh.
we're not on Instagram scrolling and looking and this story's going to end and we have to hold so that the story, like you can
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
read the email and reread it and revisit it. And like, so I think it just means that the learning that people get out of the challenge is sinks in much more deeply than if I had just done it on Instagram.
That makes sense. And just could you remind me how often do you do per year of a challenge?
So I started doing 4 times a year. Then I
Four
went
times. Okay.
to three, and
Ah.
now I do it twice a year. So I do one in winter, so January, February, and then I do another one in the autumn. And yeah, because those are the ones that were always most popular. And also I think there's something really beautiful about the change of the seasons in the autumn and capturing that. And then in January we kind of start the year with lots of energy. Now I'm going to do this, and so people come with that creative energy and joy. And so, but kind of the vibe around both challenges very different, but just so wonderful. And that's why I'm sticking with twice. That's not going to go down, and I love doing
Okay. Yeah, because I wondered if there is a reason of some sort of exclusivity or other reason why it would be only, let's say, two times a year instead of, I don't know, a monthly thing.
Yes, I know there's a lot of people who do it. I think there's two things. One is, because I want to add so much value, I want it to be amazing. It also means it takes a lot of time to put together.
Yep.
So, every email takes about 2 hours to put together. And even before I write the email, I have like a little notepad and I scribble because I don't want it to feel like every challenge is exactly the same as the one.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be different. It has to be exciting. So I always want to come up with new ideas.
Yeah.
And that takes up brain space, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I always have, I now have guest judges as well. So
Oh,
I need
that's
to
nice.
email them and we need to make arrangements and da da da. Because what happens is we have a Zoom meeting before the live that goes with it where we announce the winners.
Uh-huh.
So we have to book that. So it's very time consuming. And so
Right.
I have a business to run.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there's only so much energy I can give to what is essentially a free service. So that's why I do it like that. And I also think from the user perspective or from the participant's perspective, those 3 weeks of immersing yourself so deeply in the creative process, it's exhausting. It's
Yeah.
exhilarating and it's also exhausting. And so I think by really kind of bring that intensity,
Yeah.
you need a couple of weeks to kind of let it go. And then also I think it's just more exciting. Oh my God,
Yeah.
it's you kept a share challenge. I
It's
don't know.
finally time. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas if it were every month, then the kind of spark
It,
would be gone.
yeah, it won't be the same
It
anymore.
won't be
No, it
exactly.
makes it very exclusive and very special. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't introduce that to the listeners, so I think I should tell a little bit, or maybe you can tell a little bit more about the challenge, just to give a short kind of yeah, overview what exactly that is, because it's very interesting how you have different topics, and yeah, maybe you can quickly give a sentence about it
Yeah,
because
of course. So the
maybe
Eat
it's interesting
Share
for them.
Challenge is really about immersing yourself in the food photography and food styling
Yeah.
world and challenging yourself. And so I set about 3 tasks for every week, and the challenge is 3 weeks long. And then there's like an overriding theme for each week. So it could be like week one could be studying light, and then challenge one could be backlight, side light, artificial light, whatever the case may be. And then on Sunday, with a guest judge, we look at all the entries and we select the winner for each different challenge. So there's will be 3 winners and then 2 runners up, and that we announce in a live. And then the live is also another teaching opportunity. So we might,
Mhm.
if the challenge were light and shadow or whatever, then we might do a whole teaching section on
Mhm.
artificial light, or you know how to avoid overexposing, or whatever the case may be. So the live show is like about 45 minutes. And of course, the winners are announced there too. And that goes for 3 weeks. And then at the end of the 3 weeks, we also have like the creative of the season, and then the rising star,
Yeah.
and then community hero, so the one that people in the community voted for. So
Ah,
it's a whole event.
it grew bigger, I think, because I participated like a couple years back when I had a bit more
Yeah.
time, and I still want to participate again next time. But it was even smaller than that. It wasn't that many
Yeah,
things involved, like a
that's what I mean. Like,
community stuff.
I'm always evolving the concept.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing.
again, this one now in the autumn is going to be different again. There's going to be some twists and
Ah,
turns,
so
and
exciting.
it's exciting also for me because I don't want to get bored doing it.
Yeah.
So yes.
Makes sense. Yeah, I really recommend the listeners to join it indeed because I really it's really really exciting, and if you have time, especially, it's so much fun to join it. Yeah,
And I think
I really enjoyed it.
the most important part, actually, which I didn't mention, but
Yeah.
it's the feedback that I get from participants is,
Hmm.
and it kind of goes back to what I was saying in the beginning about building a following or building a community on Instagram. And I'm really very passionate about building a community. And I think the people who are drawn to the Eat Capture Share challenge, and the community members who are drawn to, being part of my community, they're just wonderful. They're really heartfelt creatives. And so it means that when you participate in the Capture Share challenge, you're surrounded by really supportive people. Everybody cheers everybody
Yeah.
on and leaves comments and hearts and reshares, and
Ah, that's
it's
nice.
amazing. It's amazing. So, a lot of participants actually also grow their following
Yeah.
during the challenge just because fellow participants follow them and discover them. And so, yeah, I love the community vibe.
Really cool. Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for this introduction of your challenge, and this kind of puts together in one of the ideas that for Instagram to grow, building a community is a very important aspect. What would you say could be other ways or further ways to help you grow your Instagram following besides building that community with a challenge?
Yes. I mean, I suppose my question would always be like, and it sounds trivial, but actually, why do you want to grow your Instagram audience?
Aha,
Like, what is the purpose behind it?
that's a good
Is
one.
it that you just want to do it to feel good, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but
No.
is it because you want to do sponsored content? And so, I would think about what's the why behind the growth. And then also, so yeah, so from that perspective, I think that then informs how you grow it. I mean, you can
Mhm.
do stuff like, reels, which are super popular right now, and have really wide reach. But I think the question is, what are you offering for people to come? So they might discover your reel and really love it, and then what are you offering them? And are you doing something more with that? Do you want to teach? Do you want to run, your courses, or do
Yeah.
you, like, what is the purpose? So, but that aside, I think stellar content, posting regularly, and that could mean 5 times a week, that could
Yeah.
mean 3 times a week, that could mean twice a day, whatever is regular for you, but there has to be some sort of regularity in your
Uh-huh.
schedule. I do think that really strong captions are helpful. I
Hmm.
also think there's something magical about you showing up. And that could
Hmm.
be you showing up in your stories or IGTV or Reels, but having that bond
Yeah.
with a person, um, is really, really powerful. So those are some of the
That's good.
suggestions I'd have.
Wow, that's a beautiful point of view that I actually never. It makes so total sense, but I never thought about it. Like exactly to think about first of all before doing all the things. Think why are you doing? Why do you want to grow your audience, and then adjust everything based on that. Yeah, that's a really good point of view. Makes total sense. Um, and how about hashtags? Do you think hashtags nowadays are very important?
So it's really interesting. They have a different. So I would still use them. I still use them.
Hmm.
Um, it's really funny because sometimes their reach is really, really kind of non-existent, and sometimes, and then sometimes they really take off.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think it's good to use them. It's not doesn't make sense to have that be your only way of reaching out. So more than
Hmm.
hashtags, what I'm doing a lot now is carousels that add value, and that's the
Yeah.
way sort of. I think they're really, really powerful. Reels as well, because both the carousels and then also the reels, they're really easy to reshare. And so
Hmm.
that's something that Instagram is really looking at, sort of how many times your post is saved and how many
Hmm.
times your post is reshared. And so
Mhm.
that means you just have wider reach, like Instagram
Mhm.
up the algorithm. So try and create shareable content. Try and create something that's valuable that people will want to share, or entertaining that people will want to share. So those are kind of, I think, much more important strategies to focus on than
Yeah.
just, hashtagging
Hashtags.
from home kind of thing.
Uh-huh. Makes sense. Yeah, now that I post, like, I also learned indeed about carousels being important also because they keep people a bit longer at your post, and apparently that helps somehow Instagram too. But I'm not sure how much true that is, like,
Well,
because it
definitely.
keeps changing the
Yeah,
Instagram algorithms and stuff. But
totally.
yeah.
I think, always Instagram thinks about how can we keep users on the platform
Mm-hmm.
longer and keep them engaged. So anything that they feel will, pique people's interest and keep them engaged. So the carousels one, reels, of course, because we're glued for those whatever 30 seconds or whatever it is
Yeah.
versus scrolling through a picture. All those things just help us stay glued to Instagram, and that's what they love.
Yeah, makes sense. And just to get a bit more like even in the detail, let's say hashtags, yes, they're not as important, but they're still good to use to just spread it a bit the content around and maybe a couple people will come over. I don't even know how much it helps my content to be
Yes,
honest.
it does. And what I
It
also,
does? Okay.
yeah, it certainly does. And what I think is really important is, or helpful, is to use hashtags that allow you to be featured, like
Uh-huh.
shows up on the feed or beautiful cuisines, or
Hmm.
those sorts of ones are really really important. And then also, again, thinking about what's your purpose, what value are you adding, what
Yeah.
is your niche, where are you positioning, and then using quite niche ones as well. I think
Hmm.
that helps versus
That's
just
good one.
photography or something like that, which
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
broad, and there's so much content under that hashtag. It's so hard
Yeah,
to be discovered.
you can't put me on top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something a little bit more niche, something where the you can be more easily discovered, and then
Yeah.
the ones where you can be featured on other accounts,
Yeah.
definitely worth it.
Makes sense. And do you use then all 30 hashtags?
No,
No.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing so, but I do remember maybe about a year ago,
Hmm.
Instagram's always very cryptic when they have like their announcements and their
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's always a little bit like you have to try and read between the lines, but they kind of made it sound as though if you use all 30, it
Yeah.
if it would come across as a little bit spam.
Hmm.
And what
Right.
we're saying is that, are there really 30 hashtags that really truly capture the essence of what this post is about?
Hmm.
And so that stuck with me. And so right now I'm doing maybe around 20, maybe 20, 22.
Hmm.
I think that's
Hmm.
kind of my sweet spot.
Yeah.
And that's what I teach my students as well. So that's what I
To
would
use.
aim for. But I think if you do less, that's fine too. A little bit more, that's fine too. I wouldn't go up to 30 based.
Okay, makes sense. And do you reuse the same ones each time and just change couple, or do you completely write new ones for each post?
Well, Instagram definitely doesn't like it when you cut and paste the same hashtags, because that's what spammers do. So if you're
Okay.
constantly using the same, it will actually put you down in the in the algorithm.
Ah.
So what you
Mm-hmm.
want to do is maybe use no more than about 10 or half, I should say half of what you
Mm-hmm.
used in your previous post, and then the other five or something a little bit different.
Just
Do try
okay.
and, jig it up as much as you can, just so it doesn't look like you're just a spam account, a bot account that's copying and pasting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it push you down the algorithms.
Makes sense. Okay. And another thing about Instagram that I wanted to ask you about, something that I still haven't used, but I would be curious to learn about it, is Instagram Live.
Yes.
Could you
I
tell us a
love
bit about how that helps you and how do you set it up all in all?
Yes, yes. So I love Instagram Live. I think it's wonderful. So I would say, you know, it, I think if you have a creative business that includes teaching, and that includes running courses or workshops, or
Mhm.
even an ebook about food photography, anything that means that you're positioning yourself as an expert, then I
Mhm.
think it is really really helpful and good. Or like I do, like a mentoring or something like that. So if we call it like a B2B business, I'm a business that I'm promoting to you as a fellow creative,
Yeah.
fellow business owner. So if you do that, I think doing Instagram lives are essential,
Mm-hmm.
because what you're really doing is you're showing that you are trustworthy, that you know what you're talking about, that you are indeed the expert that you say you are. And it also means that people who are on the fence, like, I don't know, should I do a workshop with her or not?
Yeah.
They get to see you. They get to, and it's so hard. I think, you can re-record and re-record your Instagram stories 100 times until they're perfect. But
Yeah.
Instagram Live is what it is. There's
Yeah.
no, this is you in the moment, as authentic as possible. And it means that if people are on the fence, they can really see who you are and be like, oh my God, I love her. I definitely want to study with her.
Yeah.
Or they could be like, "Ooh, no, actually, I'm so glad I saw this. I wouldn't gel with that teacher." So you're
Uh-huh.
you're attracting the right people, and you're pushing away the wrongs. I think if you quote unquote just want to do influencer work, is it essential? Probably not. But I
Uh-huh.
think once you're wanting to sell products and teach, or even if you want to be a speaker or something like that, Instagram
Uh-huh.
is amazing. I think I would highly recommend it. And it
Okay.
just creates a closer bond between you and your audience.
That's the one, the closer bond. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. And how do you set it up? And do you announce for your listeners that I'm going live today?
Exactly. So I think a
Yeah.
lot of people have this fear that they might go live and then no one's going to tune in. And so, and that fear is real because people are
Uh-huh.
busy. And so what you want to do is,
Yeah.
announce it as many times as possible. And so,
Okay.
I announce it in my newsletter. I
Mm-hmm.
keep a highlight for all my live dates when I run them.
Uh-huh.
They're connected to the challenge.
Uh-huh.
I announce it in my grid and in my stories with a countdown the day before and then the day of, so that I really have as many opportunities to let people know about it, so
Mm-hmm.
that turnout is high. I think if you do it on the cuff and people don't really know what it's about and there's no excitement around it, it's much harder to maintain interest, to attract the right people, and to have enough people to kind of, because you as the live presenter, you ride on the adrenaline,
Oh,
the excitement in the moment. And so if there are only two people there, then it's hard to keep
yeah.
that engine going, right? So you want to build up and you want to announce it and market it as many times as you need to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And how do you then set it up? Like you do it on your laptop, I suppose? Sorry, on your phone, I suppose?
Yes,
Or
you do
not?
it on your phone. It's really straightforward. Like just as you were to do a story, like
Yeah.
you just swipe to live and then you set it up. And I always go live with a guest teacher, so obviously you have to coordinate it with them.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's actually pretty straightforward. The trickier part, and what I do just to repurpose that content, is I love to save my live,
Uh-huh.
save it in my IGTV for anybody who missed it because they're in a different time zone or something like that. Like it has a little bit more longevity. I don't put it
Oh,
on
that makes
full
sense.
speed, so views
Hmm.
aren't super high, but I still like having it there. And what I
Yeah.
would love to do, I hope I do. I wonder if Instagram might do this in the future. I would love to record them, like an audio recording, and release them on the.
Uh-huh.
That is not possible.
That
Just
would be amazing though, because it's basically a second, yeah, that's a free episode for podcast that you
yeah,
can
I'd love
repurpose.
to,
Yeah,
I'd
makes
love
sense.
to, but we're not there yet. So that's the thing.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah. So
But yeah.
the other thing I would say is, um, I mean, this is also me, the teacher, right? So take it or leave it. But I always think like, what value can I add?
Uh-huh.
Like, if I'm just showing up, like, hey, I'm doing a live. How are you? Like, no
Yeah.
one's reaching out. So I lesson plan for the live.
Uh-huh.
So I have certain key lessons that I want to
Mm-hmm.
communicate and share. So again, let's use a light example. Like I want people who tune in to go away feeling more confident by using backlight, side light, whatever.
Uh-huh.
So I plan that out so that it's a really valuable time spent with me, so that people will want to stay for the 45 minutes. You
That makes
know.
sense. Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, okay. So you're gonna do your live. You have your phone. You put it away from you, like in front of you,
I
and
think a
then
little stand, like the same as you would do, like a camera stand type of thing, and then
okay, okay, yeah,
with the clip, with the
yeah,
iPhone clip, and then
uh,
you have your headphones, and then you're off to the
and
race.
then you're good to go. Okay, and do you when can you still see the questions popping? Do you do it yourself then or not?
Yeah, you can see. Um, I mean, sometimes it goes really, really fast, and it
Yeah, that's what I
feels
was wondering. How can you follow that while talking?
Sometimes I can't. And so what I do say is if you feel that you have a really important question, I haven't seen it, just post the question again. So, when
Okay, yeah.
I set the rules, I said, this is what's going to happen. This is how long
Uh-huh.
it's going to take. This is what it's about. You can ask questions. So I kind of set the scene.
Uh-huh.
Um, but a lot of times people are really actually engaged in listening.
That's nice.
Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So yeah,
How long do you wait until everybody joins to start talking? Because that's the awkward moment for me.
I don't. I just go straight in. I go
Okay,
straight
that's
in.
better because, well, I did without announcing on TikTok, let's say live, because I wanted to test that. And it's just so awkward to wait, like when there's one or two people, but without announcing, indeed, it's not that many people that join. And then you're with one people, let's wait till everybody joins in.
I
Oh,
go straight in. And that's why I announce it
better.
so many times so that
Makes
everybody
sense.
knows at 7. You're
Yeah.
not there, you miss the first bit, the best
Yeah.
bit, whatever.
Yeah.
Go straight in. And it also
Yeah.
means that when I save it as an IGTV, the
Mhm.
first 5 minutes isn't like, hey, I'm waiting. Like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
waiting
True.
in.
It's immediately interesting content. They can get engaged.
Exactly, exactly.
Ah, nice. Okay, interesting. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. This was interesting learning about Instagram. So, another thing I wanted to talk to you about is your book. You just launched your book. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's amazing. So, can you tell the listeners a little bit about your book?
Yes, so it's called Creative Food Photography, How to Take Exceptional Images of Food. And it's really
Mhm.
aimed not at the beginner food photographer, but people who are at least, I would say, a year into their journey. So
Okay.
they know the basics, they know their camera settings, they know the basics around light, but
Mhm.
they want to actually go pro and just know what it takes to go pro or to start earning income doing what they love. And then also they're really committed to creating standout images and images that have like a signature look,
Mhm.
something that sets you apart. And how do we find our signature look? How do we find our style? And
Uh-huh.
that's really the kind of premise of the book. That's what the book tries to support you in discovering how you
Mhm.
find your style, how you stand out, and how you go from kind of doing something sort of and hoping that it works to actually stepping into a professional photo shoot with confidence, with know-how, and that's what the book is about.
Oh, that's interesting because I remember, and I know more of the people do that, that they struggle in the beginning finding their own style and being like, oh my God, I'm just copying. What am I doing? I don't know which style. There's so many things happening. So that's very, very interesting. Yeah. How long did it took you to write the book?
So from starting to write the book until the book was released, it was exactly 2 years. But I would have to say, like, I took like one of the summers off, and then
Uh-huh.
obviously you have to send the manuscript off to the printer, and that takes a couple of weeks, and then they send you back the proof. And so it wasn't like 2 years of writing and shooting, there
Right.
was kind of like an ebb and flow and a movement. But
Yeah.
it took the best part of 2 years. And what I would also say is for anybody interested in writing a book, it's not like you write a book and you print the book and it's out, and in Spanish we say you can go and scratch your belly, you can just twirl your thumbs,
Uh-huh.
like we say in English. It's not like that. Like once the book is out,
Yeah.
actually when the work really starts, because you
Right.
market the book like your life depends on it.
Uh-huh.
Because you spent 2 years
Working on it. Yeah.
working on it. You want it to be a success, and
Yeah.
unless you're a Jamie Oliver or something like that,
Uh-huh.
you know, you have to market it. And I made a commitment to market it for a year.
Uh-huh.
So really, that means it's kind of 3 years dedicated to.
3 years of work. Wow. Oh yeah, I didn't imagine that part. I also thought like you just launched a book and then you're good to go, you watch it fly, but of course not. No. Oh,
You know,
sick.
and and that's been really interesting actually,
Yeah.
um, from a business perspective.
Uh-huh.
Like as a creative business owner, releasing the book has really made me a better businesswoman because
Oh,
I've had to think so deeply about marketing and
yeah.
all the different avenues and yeah, it's just been so, and also again, like with the challenge as a creative person, I get bored
Yeah.
very quickly. So,
Yeah.
you know, what can I do to make the marketing process interesting and fun so that
Yeah.
I don't get bored? Because you know, when you, it's with everything, when you market an e-course or when you
Yeah.
market yourself as a food photographer to a brand or when you market yourself as an influencer to a brand, you want to step in with lots of energy
Yeah.
so that people are like, oh my God, I want to work with this person, right? And
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
do you bring that energy? And so I know that once I get bored, I won't be like on my best form. And
Mm-hmm.
so by keeping the marketing interesting and unique and challenging, every time I talk about the book, I feel fired up, you know,
Oh,
like, and I
yeah.
know that's helped the sales so much, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been really interesting.
Ah, so exciting. Seriously. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, launching your own book, that's something I think super, super special. Like one day I want to do that too.
Okay,
So,
so
yeah.
look, the mentor in me would say, what does one day
Oh, yeah, that's also a good one.
mean?
It's like you have to decide. I know. I had like a whole project that I wanted to do, but I keep delaying and delaying and delaying and delaying. So, yeah, it's something that you need to put on your priorities, I guess, if you want to.
Yes, and you have to. I find it helpful to give something a deadline or a date. You don't have
Mhm.
to, but I think someday is a very dangerous, not dangerous, that sounds a bit dramatic, but it's an unhelpful
No, yeah, I
you know,
agree. Yeah.
because it doesn't allow you to actually make it happen.
Today. Yeah,
You know, so
indeed.
yeah.
Yeah, same with everything. Same if you say, I'm gonna work out starting next week, that's not gonna happen. See, we should start now or never. Yeah. Like, yeah, I agree. That's a good one. So, was the idea born to write a book?
So it came from a couple of different things. So, you know, again, maybe for your listeners, what is helpful is, I
Yeah.
always say what's important if you create a product or you create a course or you create something, it's really helpful that you notice that there's a demand for that.
Mm-hmm.
That you have an audience already who'd want that. It's an easier process than creating something and then finding the audience for it. So I'd had a lot of my audience members ask me for a book. Like, oh, I wish I
Ah.
had it.
Uh-huh.
You know, to take home after a workshop or just to revisit things. And
Yeah.
um, I also felt really passionately about the fact that my workshops are not something everybody can access, either because they're really far away or because it's outside of their budget. So I wanted to create something that was more accessible to
Mm-hmm.
a number of different people. And then also, I don't know, like I felt like I remember waking up and just thinking, I have to write this book. Like
Ah.
that's
Yeah.
what it felt like it was like, oh,
Uh-huh.
like I know. I always use this expression, like I know the book had to be born. Like I knew,
Uh-huh.
felt that, and maybe it was because people kept asking me, and maybe it was because, you know, as my prices increased, I wouldn't say
Yeah.
there was guilt, but there was like an emotion around how can I serve people who can't afford it, and
Uh-huh.
so all of that maybe created that feeling. I don't know, but it was like, oh, like I could feel it in my gut, like I have to write this book, and so yeah, that's kind of how it came about.
Wow, that was a strong one feeling that I
It was
need to.
a strong
It's
feeling.
interesting. And you decided yourself, you weren't even approached by a publisher or anything. You decided, I want to write a book, I'm gonna write a book, and you did it.
Um, yeah, I mean, I had been approached by publishers before to write a cookbook,
Oh, yeah?
but for a couple of different reasons, that just didn't feel right.
Uh
Like I
huh.
just thought,
Uh huh.
it doesn't fit into where, like if I close my eyes and I think about where I want to go, where
Yeah.
I want life to take me, where I want my career to take me, where I feel I'm at my best, where I can offer and show up in the best possible way. A cookbook isn't it. It's not
Uh-huh.
the right thing at this point in time, anyways.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so I didn't go with that. I was just like, but I also felt like if I looked on my bookshelf, I had a couple of food photography books. They felt really outdated. The
That's true.
photography, it
Hmm.
was just like I felt like there's this
That's true.
gap that we as it needs to be filled, and
Yeah.
yeah, so I just felt like that was yeah, that's just how I felt. So, but I also I've talked about this on my podcast and I've talked about it in my captions. Like I
Uh-huh.
was 100% convinced that publishers would totally see that the food photography community needed a new book, needed something
Yeah.
fresh. So I also never thought I thought it was going to be a walk in the park, which was
Mhm.
so so naive of me, right? I thought it was going to be a walk in the
It wasn't true?
no, like I had 30 publishers reject my proposal.
Seriously?
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so so they
Interesting.
rejected my proposal. 30 publishers and 30 together, publishers and agents. They're like, no, that's too niche. You'll never sell more than 1,000 copies. Nobody's
Mhm.
interested in this. It's not
We
you
have a huge community. Come on, guys.
have too small an audience.
Yeah.
This is so. I was faced with a lot
It's
of
tricky.
rejection on that journey. So nobody wanted
Ah.
to work with. Well, no, nobody wanted to work. Like nobody wanted to publish the book.
Uh-huh.
And so that was a big shock actually.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I know that I want to share this work. And
Hmm.
so I decided to self-publish the book.
Oh,
And,
yeah?
yeah. And, and also, again, I've talked about this on the podcast, but there are no women of color who've written food photography books. Like a woman of
Uh-huh.
color has never been published in that
Ah,
in that
okay.
stage. And I was like, well, I feel that I need to break that ceiling. I
That
need
you
to
can
make,
do.
I need to do that. It's not just for me, but for
Uh-huh.
other women who are, like me, immigrant women or women.
Yeah.
So, I felt like a really strong purpose behind the book. And then I, yeah, I hired a designer and I hired
Yeah.
an art director and editor
Yeah.
and I did the whole book. Like I did some, yeah,
Oh.
I did everything.
Then it was
So
even more work than I imagined. Wow.
yes, so
Yeah.
it was pretty intense. And then I had
Wow.
to find a printer and a
That's so cool.
distributor and get everything on Amazon. So everything that
That's so
normally a
cool.
publishing team would do, I had to do
You
that,
did it.
but I did it.
Ah, that sounds so special. That makes it even more special. Jeez.
Yes, it's
Congratulations. That's amazing. Really.
but this is, going back to the one day. I didn't want it to be one day. I wanted it to be now. I wanted my
Yeah.
dream to come true now, and I wanted to offer
Did
this
it.
now.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, like, what do I need to do to make that happen? And that's it. And if nobody
Beautiful.
wanted to publish me, then I needed to trust in myself.
Just
And
gonna do it myself. Yeah.
so that's what
Sick. And so now it is okay. So where can we buy a book? It's now on
happened.
Amazon as well.
So it's on Amazon, really pretty much anywhere, and also Book
Okay.
Depository, and both of them I think offer free
Uh-huh.
delivery. So yes,
Amazing.
go and get it and use it to find your style, to find your
Okay.
voice, to get inspired, and to be the best creator that you can be. That's really the premise of the book, and yeah, would love people to get it.
Okay. After the call, I'm going on Amazon.nl and I'm gonna check if it's here and I'm gonna buy it because I want it. That's so cool.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Ah, I'm excited. Nice. My biggest congratulations. I love the fact that the publisher said no, and then you were like, okay, man, I'm gonna do it myself. I really love that. I
I
think
mean,
that's so strong.
I
Not giving up.
say there were a lot of tears.
Hmm.
And I would say, like, the way I describe it, like every time you get a rejection letter, it's like someone punching you in the stomach.
It's hard.
It's
Yeah,
hard,
I can
really,
imagine.
really
Yeah.
hard. But then you pick yourself up and you keep going.
Yeah,
It's something
not
that
giving
you're
up.
passionate about. Exactly. You pick
Yeah.
yourself up and you keep going, and
Amazing. I really love that. You have no, I don't know, but I really like that. Anyways, okay, awesome. Okay, good. The book. So now we're quite long talking. So I'm slowly gonna close up with some closing questions. First of all, I wanted to ask you, like, you're a food photographer. You're having fun with your work. What's most fun for you in your work?
I love working as part of a team. I'm definitely a team person,
Hmm.
and I've loved working with other creatives and seeing them grow and develop in their styling and their in their creative expression, and it's just been so fun. It's just, I'm not a person to work on my own. I've loved building my team and growing my team. That has been super duper fun.
Awesome. Okay. And do you have some recommended books or influencers or, I don't know, blogs that starting food photographers can look at and look?
Yes. So books, to be honest with you, I would definitely, of course, recommend my book.
Of
I know
course.
that B. Lubas and also Joni Simon both have got books,
Mhm.
which I haven't received either yet, but I know that both are incredible and they're going to be great resources. But I
Mhm.
actually also think to really make it as a food photographer, you also need to have like a business mind, because talent, and the creative is important, but then you have to have that business side. So I love Seth Godin. Any of his books are incredible.
Mhm.
The book that I love the most, I think, is This is Marketing. I think
Mhm.
marketing is such an important,
So
um,
important.
yeah, it's really important to have that skill under your belt. And then the other book that's been really transformative in a because I think, it links to what I said before. For you to show up as your best self, as a creative, as a creative business owner, as a community leader, you have to be in a good place, right? Like you
Mhm.
have to feel good. And the book is by Brendan Burchard.
Oh yeah.
You're shaking your head. I read that, and that book was transformative for me. In fact, I'm going to reread it. I read it about 2 years ago, and I'm going to reread that book. But do you
What's
remember?
again the name of it? I forgot the name, but we have it
Maybe we
also.
should put it in the show notes, or I can Google it quickly. I don't want to.
Something the fifth. No. Okay, I'll check later. I'll put it in. It's in
Okay,
the show notes.
put it in the show notes. But that
Yeah.
book, I think, is one that yeah, that's been transformative. So I love that. In terms of, um, and then one other one that I love, which is a cookbook, it's
Mhm.
Canal Vanille. I just think like just browsing through that, or any Ottolenghi, like any
Mhm.
Ottolenghi or Canal Vanille,
Okay.
it's just so inspiring. Just
Oh.
so beautiful with Ottolenghi, the flavors, the textures, the colors, like the creativity behind the recipe development is like sparks, like something in me. And then Canal Vanille, the photography is just insane, like just gorgeous. Um,
Awesome.
and then I think that's hopefully that's enough to get started.
Oh, these are great recommendations. Yeah, great, awesome, good. Okay. Now, any other exciting projects that you're working on that may be interesting for us to learn about?
Yes, so I am going to be launching my first food styling course, an e-course in the
Ooh,
summer. So it's just taking, it's not about camera basics, it's not about editing, it's really just about food styling. Because again,
nice.
what I noticed that a lot of my students were still struggling with. So it's going to be a standalone. And I'll also be speaking at the Food Photography Summit uh,
Ooh,
this June, which I'm really excited about. So those are kind of two of the things that are coming.
ooh, exciting. I'm curious about the food styling course. That's a good one. It's not that many out there yet. Not at all. So
Yeah.
that's really good. Awesome. Okay, the last where can the listeners find you?
So I'm the Little Plantation on Instagram. You can also tune into my podcast, which is Eat, Capture, Share. And I have a blog, thelittleplantation.co.uk, where you can come and sign up to the mailing list and join my community.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was so interesting to talk to you. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.